Hello guys, Mr. Fluffy Pants here. Today guys, another video, and today guys, I'm reviewing one of my favorite movies of all time, and widely considered one of the best movies of all time, which is Back to the Future. And why can I say that, how it's been said about this movie? Like, this movie is absolutely spectacular. Like, if you want to watch an 80s movie, watch it. Like, the first three are absolutely amazing. I'm going to actually review all three because, I don't know, I've always, every year at least, for like the past 3 years, rewatched the Back to the Future trilogy every May for some reason. And I just watched them for the first time probably about, I don't know, like 2017. And since then, I've watched them every May. I don't know, just something I do. But, it's like I said, one of my favorite movies of all time. And I do think the first one is probably near perfect. Like, it is absolutely amazing. But Back to the Future is a movie that was directed by Robert Zemeckis and produced by Steven Spielberg and Kathleen Kennedy and a bunch of other people. But you really feel Steven Spielberg's touch on this. And pretty much, Marty McFly, which is played by Michael J. Fox, which this movie has absolutely wonderful casting, like Kristen Glover and Christopher Lee as Doc Brown. Just absolutely great. The casting in this movie is superb, but he gets sent back in time about 30 years to 1955, and let's just say he messes up how his parents meet, and he's got to somehow fix that before he disappears forever, because, they never get together, they never have him or whatever, and he's also got to, fix that before he can go back to the future, which, that's a whole another issue. But if you haven't watched these, please watch these. These are some of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. I know that's a pretty bold statement, but I'll talk about it a little bit more later. But all three of them are actually on Netflix right now, so you got some watching to do. But okay, so Back to the Future. First of all, this movie is it's got that whiz or Wistapool nature to it or whatever, and it's just absolutely awesome. First of all, I think this is probably one of the best screenplays ever written. There's a lot of stuff, how it ties in together and all that is just absolutely amazing. Like I said, the casting is absolutely great. I think they said like they shot like 1/3 of the movie with like some other actors, Marty, and they're like, this doesn't feel right. So then they got Michael J. Fox, and his whole filming schedule for this movie sounds absolutely absurd. Like, he would get done filming, I think it was like Family Ties or something, and then he would have to sleep in the back of a van while they took him to the set of Back to the Future at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, which I was just like, I don't know if I'd be able to do that. But so, Marty McFly's friends with this, I don't know, he's like a older scientist or whatever, but his name is Dr. Emmett Brown, and let's just say he cracked the secret to time travel, and he built a DeLorean into a time machine. And, that first scene whenever at the Twin Pine Mall where, they send Einstein a minute into the future, probably one of the top 10 greatest scenes of all time. Like, that is just absolutely amazing scene. And also the score for this movie, done by Alan Silvestri, the one that did the Avengers theme, is probably like top 5 most memorable movie themes of all time. Like, it is so great. Like, it's up there with Jaws, but especially near the end where the car's racing trying to get 88. But and they send his dog into a minute into the future, and he's like, I'm gonna go he's like telling Marty, I'm gonna go to the future now, but he ripped off some Libyan I can't say that word, but Libyan terrorist, and they came back for their plutonium. So they end up shooting Doc, and we're led to believe he dies, but later it turns out that Marty kind of warned him about it, so he had like a bulletproof vest on, but we don't learn that till the end. And Marty jumps into the DeLorean and accidentally, I guess, kind of goes back in time, because he accidentally goes 88 miles an hour, and he goes back to 1955. I think it was like November 6th or something like that. And that turns out that's the day that Doc found out the secret to time travel, which was the flux capacitor. And the soundtrack for this movie is also really great. Like Huey Lewis and the News, The Power of Love and Back in Time. Absolutely great songs. And also Mr. Sandman, whenever he's walking through the Hill Valley in 1955. Just great choice right there in my opinion, because that kind of fits that time period. But and whenever we actually seen Hill Valley, in case you're wondering, it actually is the very same set town from Gremlins, so maybe there's a tie-in right there. I don't know, but he ends up running into his dad and his mom, and he actually messes up the way they meet, because in or at least in Marty, I guess his past as his mom's dad actually accidentally hits his dad with a car, and that's how they fall in love. And it turns out Marty saved his dad from getting hit from the car, and he was the one that got hit by the car now. So, now his mom's in love with him, and he's got to somehow get his parents back together before he starts slowly disappearing. But one of the most confusing things about any time travel movies, how the logistics work and all that, like, not even Avengers Endgame can explain it, but I think they explain it a little bit better than in here, because in here I'm like, well, if he went back to the future and caused that to happen, then there shouldn't be any, because that should already happen to, I don't know, time travel is one of those things that really mess with you. But I like to think of it as whenever you go back and mess with something, it creates like an alternate timeline. At least that's just what I, subscribe to. But, there's a bunch of antics, him trying to get George McFly and Lorraine together, which, is great. And, of course, you got Biff in there. Adult Biff, he's, still a jerk to his dad. And even back then he was. And then, at the dance or whatever, George McFly knocks out Biff and, takes Lorraine home. And let me just say, best scene out of the movie is whenever Marty plays Johnny B. Good at the school dance. That is probably top 20 best scenes of all time. Like, that is absolutely great. Like, I love that so much. And especially whenever he's like, Chuck, it's your cousin Marvin Berry. You've been looking for that new sale. So I guess technically Marty McFly introduced Chuck Berry to, Johnny B. Good, but he heard it from Chuck Berry, so, kind of a loop right there, I guess. And also, he invented, the skateboard and, just a bunch of other stuff, a lot of stuff that, he, from his, future or whatever, he ends up kind of inadvertently inventing that. And, Mayor Goldie Wilson, he's the one that ends up, in the future making him run for mayor or whatever, so kind of confusing, but... And, with all this, they actually have to, now get Marty back to the future. So they hook up this whole thing because, the clock tower stopped working after, the certain night or the night of the actual enchantment of the sea dance. So, and they're out of plutonium. So the only way to get the 1.21 gigawatts is a lightning bolt strike from the clock tower. So, he's racing towards it. And, Doc's like, oh, man, I got to hurry up and put, these cables together. And, as soon as the DeLorean hits it, the lightning strikes, and, he goes into the future. And, sadly, he thinks he does not, save Doc, even though he tried to give him a letter and warn him about the future. But it turns out, Doc actually did listen and wore, a bulletproof vest. The Libyan terrorists are dead or whatever. And, everything turns out good. And it turns out that inadvertently, Marty actually made his life a lot better, and his parents and his family's life a lot better. Now George is a award-winning, science fiction writer, and, Biff's just kind of like an old man that, just kind of listens to everything that George McFly says, and, his mom and his brothers and sister, their life really did turn out great after that. And I love how Biff gets excited whenever his shipment of books gets there or George McFly's books are there. I don't know, I just absolutely love that. And, then we see Doc come flying in with the DeLorean, and he's like, Marty, you gotta go back to the future with me. And, leave up for that sequel right there, you see the DeLorean flying all. But like I said, probably top 10, movies of all time. And I would definitely say this is about as close as it gets to perfect. And, on this channel, I only rated a couple movies perfect on this channel. So I'm actually going to give this movie a 10. I think another one, or a 10 out of 10. The only other movie I can really think I gave a 10 out of 10 was Forrest Gump and... maybe one more, I can't remember, but perfect 10 out of 10 for me. And I'm just saying, Lego, please make another Back to the Future set, at least make the DeLorean, at least from this movie, or maybe in a clock tower set. That'd be really cool. Or maybe even the in the third one, Jules Verne train. That was a cool idea set, but unfortunately it did not pass. But please just at least give us another DeLorean. But, like I said, if this movie gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for me, I like to watch this movie every year along with the trilogy. So expect a review for part 2 and part 3 soon. But anyway, guys, let me know down below what you guys think about Back to the Future 1985. One of my favorite movies of all time. And I know it's definitely a lot of other people's favorite movies of all time. But anyway, guys, check out my Twitter and Discord, link in the description. Like, subscribe for more. Check out some other videos, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!